Welcome, everyone. Today's explainer takes us deep into the heart of a place that is, well, as absolutely breathtaking as it is entirely unforgiving. We're talking about the Amazon rainforest. Now, to really wrap your head around the sheer scale we're dealing with here, picture a vast wilderness spanning an incomprehensible 5.5 million square kilometers across 9 different South American countries. It's a world entirely of its own design, and it operates by a set of rules that are incredibly hostile to human survival. So is the Amazon really the deadliest place on Earth? I want you to really think about it for a second, because, when most of us picture danger, we usually imagine a single threat, right? Like a specific predator, or maybe just a really harsh climate. But do we truly grasp the danger of an environment where threats literally surround you in 3 dimensions? I mean, if you walk on the ground, you're at risk. If you climb up into the trees, you're at risk. Wade into the water, definitely at risk. Actually, even if you just stand perfectly still and do absolutely nothing, the environment itself can be lethal. In some of these remote areas, your survival rate drops to practically 0. Okay, let's dive right into our survival map for this explainer. First, we'll look at the deadliest place on Earth. Then, the dry buffet with anacondas and caimans. Third, we've got mass shock with electric eels. Fourth is Peru's boiling river. And finally, the invisible killer, Amazon mosquitoes. Starting off with Section 1, the deadliest place on Earth. Moving right along to Section 2, the dry buffet, featuring anacondas and caimans. To really kick things off, we have to understand the harsh reality of the Amazon. It isn't just about the animals. It's about how the entire ecosystem is essentially designed to consume whatever steps foot inside it. Let's start with the heavyweights. We're moving into the domain of giant physical predators, specifically looking at the colossal green anaconda and a daily routine that sounds honestly like something straight out of a horror movie. Look at that number, 250 kilograms. The green anaconda is the heaviest snake on the entire planet. Now, because of that massive bulk, you might be thinking, well, it's probably pretty easy to avoid. And on land, you'd actually be right. They're pretty slow and cumbersome. But the Amazon is a world of water. And once this 250 kilogram tube of pure muscle drops below the surface, it completely transforms. It becomes incredibly stealthy, agile, and terrifyingly efficient. And what it hunts is even more surprising. Get this. This massive snake actually preys on the black caiman. If you aren't familiar with the black caiman, just imagine the most terrifying version of a crocodile you can think of, but heavier and way wider. These heavily armored beasts can grow to be 4 to 5 meters long and can weigh nearly a ton. A ton! And yet, the anaconda will wrap around this apex predator, squeeze it until its heart literally stops beating, and then swallow the entire massive creature completely whole. No way, right? But as with everything in nature, timing in the Amazon is everything. During the high water season, from December to May, the rivers flood. Boats can navigate easily, and predators are dispersed over these vast, vast areas, making it much safer for tourists to explore. However, during the low water season, that's from June to November, the water recedes dramatically. Streams and tributaries just dry up into these shallow, isolated pools. All the marine life gets trapped in these shrinking puddles. It literally creates a concentrated, open buffet for jaguars, anacondas, and black caimans who gather on these floating islands to feast. If a human were to accidentally wander into one of these concentrated hunting grounds during the dry season, well, they'd simply become part of the buffet. Which brings us to Section 3, mass shock with electric eels. Now let's move way down in scale, but way, way up in electrical output. We're traveling deep into the Brazilian Amazon, near the Arari River, to look at a truly shocking discovery, pun definitely intended, involving electric eels. 860 volts. That is the massive amount of electricity these creatures can generate. Now, just to be scientifically accurate here, they aren't actually eels at all. They're a type of knife fish that can grow to a massive 1.2 to over 2 meters long. They have these special organs running down the sides of their bodies that basically act like biological batteries. They use these high-voltage bursts to navigate, communicate, and, of course, completely paralyze their prey. Now, what's really interesting here is that until recently, electric eels were thought to be completely solitary hunters. Just lone wolves of the river. But researcher David DeSantana discovered a remote lake containing over 100 of these massive eels working together. They actually form these specialized hunting groups of up to 10 individuals. They work together to herd and trap entire schools of tetrafish. Then they unleash a synchronized 860-volt electric shock. It's literally like 10 biological tasers firing at the exact same moment. The fish are instantly paralyzed and the pack feasts. This kind of pack hunting is incredibly rare in the aquatic world. I mean, out of all the fish on Earth, it's been observed in only 9 species.
All right, let's look at Section 4, Peru's deadly boiling river.
Let's shift our focus from deadly animals to a terrifying geographical anomaly. We're heading deep into the Peruvian Amazon to examine a 9-kilometer stretch of water known locally as the Bomb. And guys, this is the world's only boiling river. During the day, temperatures skyrocket to near 100 degrees Celsius, practically boiling point. It is absolutely lethal. Small mammals, reptiles, or amphibians that accidentally fall in, they're instantly boiled alive, their bodies stripped down to the bone by the fierce heat. But at night, the waters cool just slightly, hitting the cooler night air to create this massive ghostly halo of steam over the river. The locals actually use this strange daily cycle to tell time. They call the evening the vapor hour, signifying the end of the day. They even use the river's heat for cooking and cleaning, which is pretty wild. But how is this even possible? The craziest part about this river is that there are absolutely 0 active volcanoes anywhere nearby to heat the water. Nothing. The prevailing scientific theory is that it's just a massive geothermal plumbing system. Basically, surface water flows deep, deep down into faults in the Earth's crust, going way farther than normal rivers do. Down there, it absorbs the intense geothermal heat radiating from the Earth's mantle. Then, under immense pressure, this superheated water shoots rapidly back up to the surface, creating this deadly, boiling anomaly right smack in the middle of the jungle. Moving to Section 5, the invisible killer, Amazon mosquitoes. Okay, let's move to our final section and see how a creature smaller than a coin is actually the most dangerous organism in the entire Amazon basin. And understanding geography here is quite literally a matter of life and death, because not all rivers are created equal. Take the Black River, for instance, or Rio Negro. It's highly acidic. We're talking a pH of 2.9 to 4.2, and it's very poor in minerals. Because of this harsh chemistry, mosquitoes simply cannot breed there. It's essentially a safe zone. But if you travel to the White River or Rio Branco, you have mineral-rich, neutral waters. And as the sun sets, the sky literally turns dark with massive, inescapable swarms of mosquitoes. And those swarms carry a devastating payload. We're not just talking about an annoyance here. It is a profound biological threat. These mosquitoes are vectors for malaria, yellow fever, dengue fever, and the Zika virus. Stepping into these mineral-rich river zones without extreme protection almost guarantees exposure. To put that danger into perspective for a second, the World Health Organization states that over half of the entire global population is at risk from the types of mosquito-borne illnesses found thriving in these exact environments. Just let that number sink in. 700,000. Globally, out of an estimated 700 million annual infections caused by these tiny insects, over 700,000 people die every single year. You see, you can avoid the giant anaconda, you can steer clear of the boiling river, but escaping an invisible cloud of millions of disease-carrying insects in the dense humidity of the jungle, that is a much, much harder battle to win. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. We've really taken an elemental tour of terror today. We've seen shallow waters transform into an open buffet for ton-heavy caimans and giant anacondas. We've witnessed packs of supercharged knifefish unleashing synchronized electrical shocks. We've explored a river that literally boils its victims down to the bone using the deep heat of the earth. And we've seen how microscopic viruses carried by tiny insects claim hundreds of thousands of lives. The Amazon is undeniably beautiful, for sure. It's a vital organ of our planet. But it's also a masterclass in extreme survival. So, knowing what hides in the water, on the land, and in the air, would you still dare to visit? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep your curiosity